Hey guys, it's me Becca. So this will be the start of another weekly vlog, and so far today I've just done some cleaning and whatnot. I also started to help my mom and pick up the leaves in our backyard just to you're supposed to clean them, mom. So yeah. And yeah, now the house is a bit cleaner. And I did do some reading. If you watched my last vlog, you would have seen that I started A Taste of Gold and Iron by Alexandria Wolin. Wow, where did I get? Oh, I was about to say the YouTuber's name. Oh wow. But yeah, I'm just gonna read the synopsis again in case you didn't see my last vlog. This is about Kaju, who is the shy prince of Arset, and he finds himself at odds with one of the most powerful ambassadors at court, the body father of the queen's new child, in an altercation that results in his humiliation. To prove his loyalty to the queen, his sister, Hadu takes responsibility for the investigation of a break-in at one of their guilds, with the help of his newly appointed bodyguard, the coldly handsome Evermere, who seems to tolerate him at best. In Arset, where princes can touch, taste precious metals with their fingers in myth, one side by side with history, counterfeiting is heresy. In the conspiracy they discover could cripple the kingdom's financial standing and bring about to its ruin. And so far right now I am on page 172. I think yesterday when I left off my previous vlog I was on page 108, and whatever, today we see Evermere, who he's trying to figure out the prince, because there's a lot of things about him that's quite contradictory. Like, the prince, he's a nervous wreck, he gets anxious quite easily, he is full of self-doubt, and he constantly just needs to be reassured. And his former bodyguard, Talik, who was essentially not court-martialed, but he made a mistake that resulted in 2 deaths of 2 bodyguards, and it resulted in him of being kicked out of the, I guess, army, or the unit where the bodyguards. There was something called, like, kind of called, I think, hack or something here, but he's the only one who can reassure the prince that everything's okay. But Evermere, he also sees how brilliant and knowledgeable the prince actually is, as the prince has a habit of going out and getting drunk and then talking a lot, like talking about the currency, talking about trades, and talking about how the coin works with Evermere and the stuff that he should know. To Evermere, he just thinks this prince is someone who, I guess, is blank in the mind. I guess he seems to think the prince is quite unaware of things, and he does learn his lesson of the fact that the prince is very much aware and has been taught all of his life by the best tutors. And we also see when Evermere and Kadu, they're coming back from tavern, they are attacked by thieves, and Kadu is able to kill all 3 of their attackers, and afterwards he goes through this episode that this seems very similar to a panic attack, and he just called for Talik, who has seen this before, has experienced the prince going through this, and knows how to get the prince, who is also a lover, out of his own hand and be aware that he is safe. And Talik explains that these episodes began when Sir Anos, who is the body father of Kadu's niece, apparently on a day that the niece was born, Sirens had threatened Kadu, and it just set things up. And I'm intrigued to see what kind of threat it was, because I have some theories and it's all quite dark, my idea. So yeah, and with Karu, he is worried that because of the mistake he made, that his sister's mom has blacklisted him because she's forbidden him to go to court. She summons hasn't called for him to have buffets with her, like stuff that they don't normally do, and he does investigate the break-in, and he finds evidence of the break-in when he and Avamir go and investigate the scene of the crime. However, the next day when he tells the head of the guard what he saw, and she goes to grab that piece of evidence, who he left with other members of the guard at the guild. She says it wasn't there, that people were unaware, and it seems like the person who was in charge of that guild might have been involved in that. Several of the guards who were more loyal to him than to the crown. And she investigates, finds a whole bunch of coins, which, because Kadru has this ability where if he touches gold, he can know if it's legitimate or counterfeit, and he touches it and it is all counterfeit. So there is that investigation, and right now Kadru was telling his sister all this when the head of the guard came in with those she knows she has vetted, like they can trust, and with this piece of evidence and the fact that the head of the guild has been arrested, but now it's the trying to figure out who is loyal, who is not. And I think the thing with Kadru, his sister not calling for him, I mean, we see how his sister is also quite protective of him during the scene, trying to keeping him close physically. So, and it doesn't seem like there's any bad blood the way she interacts with him. Like, she doesn't think he's done bad stuff or anything. It just seems like Saron's, who we know doesn't like the prince for some reason, has caused some stuff to occur. Probably is the reason he's not allowed in Horde. But yeah, I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued to see the outcome of the investigation, to see who might be involved, who might not. Like, Kadir even ensures that Avamir is loyal by having him use his left hand and put his sword to his throat, to Kadir's throat. And Avamir is just someone who listens to orders and follows them, and that also was just a bit funny, because the head of the guard like, you're not supposed to follow these kind of orders, are you insane? And yeah, it was just a bit entertaining, but I am intrigued to see the outcome of this investigation. So yeah, I think that's all for now. So it's the next day, and it's another dreary day. We're currently in the middle of this big storm that's hit the east coast of the US, and yeah, I imagine it's done more damage to the shoreline of my state, but for me it's just raining soon. But I have done some work, and I did do quite a bit of reading of A Taste of Gold and Iron, putting me on page 280, and I'm definitely liking this book a lot. We do see with Kadu and Avamir how they address the fact Avamir is not the best at communication. He doesn't say what's on his mind really, and he's not very clear of what he wants to say. He just says kindness and over to Kadu whenever Kadu addresses him. And we see how Kadu has had enough of this and wants Avamir to express himself, say what he's thinking, and so that Kadu doesn't have to read his mind. And we see how Avamir, he starts to really, I guess, not open up, but feel confident enough to say more than this highness, which is a bit funny. And they do go to investigate some claims at this incense house, and they're in the alleyway when the incense house owner comes in there, and the two have to hide and kind of make themselves invisible, I guess. I don't know. Kadu has Evamir kiss him, so it looks like they're just a couple making out in an alleyway. And that happens, and Evamir, it seems that Kiss has kind of left him a bit confused, and as he did like kissing the prince, so it seems like the attraction to one another has really started, I guess, or kind of has come to be acknowledged. And Kadu learns through his sister that someone is trying to frame him for the counterfeit coins in the head of the bodyguards. They want him to stay inside the house, the royal house, in order to protect himself, and he doesn't want to because he is so restless. He just wants to help and really get back on the good side of the courts, because his sister isn't upset with him, but publicly she does have to put him at a distance, and he is still banned from going to court and whatnot until he is able to do something good, and he thinks that good will be solving what these counterfeit crimes and whatnot. And we see how someone or a group of people, they are able to get into his rooms and attack him and trying to kidnap him by putting a rag over his face with some incense thing, some drug, I guess, and try to kidnap him. And this has Kadu, his sister, his niece, Serranos, I think his name is. Yes, I don't know why I said it was. But a bunch of the bodyguards to go through these underground tunnels that only the royal family knows, and to hide. And Evermere suggests his mother's house because no one will suspect yet. And we see how, as well, Tug, he got injured. He was stabbed in the side, and he thinks it would have been honorable if he had died for the prince, because he didn't give his sword to the prince, and yet it seems like he still cares a lot about him. And earlier in the novel, Cunning did say that he does spend the money he was given on education to just watch a bunch of plays. Like, he's not as well educated as some of the other bodyguards who know the art of war, essentially, forwards and backwards, know a bunch of languages, sword forms. Like, he's not as brilliant as they are, and he feels like he's made nothing of himself, and he's afraid that he will never be able to accomplish anything because of what's in his file. So I'm thinking where that goes, and I'm intrigued about Serranos because his sister accompanied the ambassador of their country to Arrest. I never know how to pronounce it, and it seems like Serranos has hinted that there's tension between Kadu and his sister. Apparently the sister he thought that Kadu was trying to take over his sister's position, when that's not the case, and it seems that's not what it plans. Like, it seems like Serranos, he's the disappointment of the family. Like, that he'll only stay there for another few years and then be kicked out, and it seems like the sister is she's already looking for a new body father for another child, so also intrigued on where that goes, and if that explains the rivalry, or why Serrano's threatened Kadu because of his beliefs that Kadu might try to take over his sister's position as Sultan of the country. So I'm curious on where that goes, and I'm also just intrigued to see how this all unfolds. How those who wanted to kidnap Kadu were able to get to the gold circle or the inner circle of the castle. So yeah, I think that's all for now. So it's the next day and I've just done some work and whatnot, and it's another dreary day. Like, I'm ready for the sun to come out. Yeah, and I did do some reading of A Taste of Gold and Iron, and I'm on page 366, and I'm liking this quite a lot. We see Kadu, how he's restless of being locked up in a house, not being able to do anything to figure out what's going on in this situation, and how the others who are with him, the other guardsmen, which is Evmore, Kaldik, another one in Melek, and one of his sister's guards, Premier. They all go on this mission to this warehouse where they suspect the counterfeit gold is being made, and they get there and they see that Serranos is there. Yeah. And they have to escape without capturing him. And oh my word, Kaya's sister, the Sultan, she learns of this and decides she has to go back to the palace in order to ensure that the family is still in charge, I guess, or still on a throne, to debunk any rumors that might spread that she and her brother are dead. And before she leaves, she has Evmore promise that he'll protect Kadu, even allowing him to disobey any orders if necessary. And we learn more of Evmore's past romances, and how when Kadu learns of this, he also feels a bit guilty, like that he was one of the first people Evmore's ever kissed. And you see how Evmore, he does care for the prince, and when the prince wants to go out to investigate them, Evmore is like, I can tie you up and leave you and lock you in a room, and he doesn't. And they go back to the incense house where the Jasmine Fun, I think, was, and they run into Serranos, who is there, and they try to hide. Like, Kadu starts kissing Evmore's neck, like pretending they're a couple, and they might have tricked Serranos briefly, but they are captured. And in order to protect Evmore, Kadu is like, you have to marry me, because they told Sylvia, Serranos' sister, that Evmore is a count, and they are bringing in this witch to verify these claims. And we see that marriage ceremony now, the beliefs are verified, and the two are brought to a dungeon, and they actually talk about the relationship and start to, I guess, clarify some feelings to the two have, because we do see how they're becoming more aware and aware of their attraction to one another, how they find the other person beautiful or good looking, not charming, but brave and loyal they are, and how these characteristics, and as well, the looks don't hurt. Like, they're both two good looking guys. So, yeah. So yeah, so far I am liking the fact there. I mean, I think I've about 100 pages left. Yeah, I have about 100 pages left, so you would think they would start figuring out like their relationship. And I mean, they are in close proximity. Wow, at the moment because of the fact they're in a jail cell. So yeah, I'm intrigued to see what happens after. How Kadu's sister will react because of the fact that Kadu did marry. And it seems like this is a thing that's quite common, and I'm intrigued on really like what's happening next and like how the others will save them, because they did have another guardsman, I think, who was there, and he wasn't able to run after them or anything. I don't know if they were in a position where he was unable to see them or if he's dead. So I'm intrigued about that, I guess. So yeah, I think that's all for now. So it's the next day and I've just done some work and whatnot, and the weather has actually gotten brighter, which is good. I do like it when it's sunny. And I did do quite a bit of reading, and I did finish A Taste of Gold and Iron, and I really enjoyed this, and I'm giving it 4 stars. Wow, I cannot speak. And I do have to say one thing. Tadic, I love his character. I love how when he senses that there's something between Kadu and Evmir, he's not jealous at all, and for him, the most important thing is for Kadu to take care of himself, and when he's not doing that, to intervene. And Evermere is on his side with that. They both want. Sorry, I heard something. They both want Kadu to take care of himself, and when he won't, they'll take care of him, which I like. And I also like with the, I guess, final bit of the book, after their marriage or wedding, I should say, how they do acknowledge the fact they will have to annul the marriage, as if it's annulled it would be more quiet than if they were to divorce, which is a more public thing. But as well, with Kadu's position as the prince, he cannot really take what he wants into consideration. He has to take what's the best for the kingdom, what's best for his sister and her relationships with other kingdoms, other countries, and he knows there is a possibility he might be used as a pawn in a marriage where he won't love the person, but he will have to for the kingdom. And I liked seeing how Evmir and Kanu, they both acknowledge to themselves and to each other that they're in love with each other. And they keep putting off the annulment. Like, Kadu's like, oh, I won't have time in my schedule for at least a couple weeks. Like, when they, and then says later, like, they could have done it. They could have done it in the middle of the night. No one could have known. Like, it's not like their marriage is this widely known thing. The only person who knew was Tadic, and that was after they told him, after he confirmed them. After, not confirmed, but after he was suspicious of them. And that whole thing, like, made me love Tadic in a sense. He just thought the whole thing hilarious, which... But we see how they still desire one another, and they do kiss and whatnot, and they kind of touch, but they don't want to go so far in the sense like they cannot go so far that it will prevent them from annulling this marriage. And then yeah, like Kadu, he almost has accepted his fate and is like, actually no, I'm not gonna accept the fact that I'm not gonna be married to the person I love. I will have to either annul this marriage from him, keep him at a distance and then marry someone else for my sister and for my kingdom, or I can still keep him close and still be married to him and won't actually tell people for a bit, and he just decides we need to go with the latter, and we see how they talk and accept the fact that they want to be together, and it wouldn't be fair to either of them if they know and they will have to marry someone else. And he does tell his sister, who tried to set him up with a prince from another kingdom, he doesn't want to marry the guy, and she's like, but you didn't meet him. He's like, I know. Like, I don't know, I kind of wish she asked some more questions about it, but and really the end of this book is them going on their, I guess, honeymoon, or they're leaving for the country. So yeah, I kind of wish like we got that scene of the sister finding out and the aftermath, but yeah, overall I enjoyed the relationship between the two, and I don't know, I also felt like the relationship kind of took over the plot, and I guess that it was always how it was with the whole Serranos issue, but I don't know, that resolved a bit too easily. I don't know, but I just enjoyed it, so yeah, 4 stars, and I will let you know what book I'm planning to read next tomorrow. But yeah, I'm planning to go for a walk, so I'll see you. So it's the next day, and as you saw, I did go out today. I just had a doctor's appointment and I went a couple of errands, and I think I've mentioned in previous vlogs, but my town every October they on Main Street, groups and people and schools, they put up scarecrows and they just line up and down Main Street, and I don't know, I always just like walking on Main Street in my town. Just in any season it just always has this historical atmosphere and it's always peaceful. So I did that, and it was extremely windy, so that was fun. And I did start a new book. I started Uncharmed by Lucy Jane Wood, and this is about Andromeda. Annie Wildwood is the perfect witch. She is sugar, spice, and everything nice. Each element of her life finely curated and polished irresistibly by her nightly hacks-laced potion routine. She loves to please and keep everyone around her completely happy. When Annie's coven tasks her with guiding an orphan teenage witch through the process of getting her blossoming magical powers under control, Annie is excited for the chance to prove herself. But the ramshackle cottage she'll be housed in isn't quite the staycation of Annie's dreams, and she and Maeve, the headstrong teen, couldn't be more different. That's when they're starting to understand each other. The owner of the cottage unexpectedly returns, and this quietly gruff and handsome warlock is not happy to find that the coven volunteered his house to a high-maintenance witch and her angsty teenage companion. As the seemingly unlikely trio develops a loyalty and fondness for one another, Annie slowly learns that her people-pleasing may have let her down, an impossible lonely path. If everything about her is so white, why does it feel so long? And I would say so far I'm definitely enjoying the writing style. It is sucks you right in, I would say. And when we start this, we meet Annie, and she is the owner of this cafe, and she ensures that everyone like has a good experience by getting to know like the customers and getting to know bits of their lives, and that's the customers who routinely visit her cafe. And she just brings comfort to the people, and she even adds some of her magic into her pastries, like when someone takes a bite of a cinnamon roll, the memories will immerse and or come to light, I guess is the better phrase of that my word. And Annie, she just seemed a bit overwhelmed, like, overworked on her own behalf, because she does have two people working with her at the cafe, a couple named Perry and Faye, and she will send them home early, and she'll stay late to do work before she goes home, or to a day one of her friends set up for her. And I will get to that later, but she, we learn, has this familiar, a white cat, whose name God, whose name is Karma, and with her friends, Annie, she's part of this club, I think it is, which is the sorority, and kind of thing. And we see her at one of the meetings, and all of her friends are just like, they look down on her because they think, because they're married and she's not, that they're better than her, and because their families are more influential than Annie's. And we learn about Annie's past, and how her father gambled away his magic, and then started to gamble away hers and her mother's magic, and then he disappeared. And this caused her mother a lot of heartbreak, and she tried to go after after him, and Annie never saw her again, and Annie was only 18, so she had to fend for herself, and she now has to work to prove to the influential families that she can be trustworthy, that she won't be like her father. And again, it seems like, I don't know, and his friends, I keep getting back to them, but it seems like this is a sensitive subject for Annie, as well as a subject she probably doesn't like talking about, and yet they're bringing it up. So yeah, I mean, one of the friends she used to be close with, but not anymore. Yeah. And she wants to be part of the club officially, and one of her friends keeps saying she'll talk to her mother, who is the head of it. So I'm curious if the duo Annie will be making to work with this teenager will kind of ensure she will be part of this club. I don't know. I kind of want to see Annie just surrounded by people besides Perry and Frey, who try to make her like relax, and surrounded by people who will have her best interests at heart, and that she will know that being a part of this popularity club is not going to be good for her. But yeah, so far I am liking it, and I just remembered, I don't know why this left my head, but Annie, it seems like her family has this curse where they have to hear all of the voices, all of the stories of ghosts of the dead, and all of this, and really take them all in as if so that these ghosts are not forgotten. And some of these stories are just sad, really. Like, they're sad, they're mournful, they're full of hatred. They're not happy stories, and Annie just has to perform this ritual and take them all in. And I really just want fear. I really just think she will be at a breaking point, because there's just so many like heartbreaking stories one person can take in before they reach a breaking point, and I'm curious if she will reach that, and one, well, if someone of this guapo or Maeve will be there for her, because I just want to see her find people she can fully be herself with, that she doesn't have to work so hard to please, because it seems like she's just trying to be this, to everyone around her, this perfect person who's extremely cheerful and preppy. So yeah, I'm intrigued to see where that goes. So yeah, I think that's all for now. So see. So it's the next day, and I did go out today. I didn't film just because it was quite busy and we didn't have time to walk, as a town near me was doing a library book sale, which I did go to, but I decided to go straight to do some grocery shopping and go with my mom to an appointment, and I had to go home for an appointment on Zoom, so yeah, I just didn't have time. But I did get some books at that book sale for about $2. The first was Fahrenheit 451 by Ray Bradbury. I once I might have read this or another dystopian when I was a sophomore in high school, but I don't remember, but I'm very much intrigued. Next is The Martian by Andy Weir. I know it's the movie time edition, but yeah. And I'm not giving synopsis today just because I'm not willing to wait, so sorry about that. And lastly, I did get The Man Made of Smoke by Alex North. So yeah, very much intrigued about all three books. And I did do quite a bit of reading of Uncharmed, and I'm on page 112, and I do have to say I'm very much enjoying this. I think it is mentioned in the marketing that this book takes place prior to the events of Bewitched, which was this author's previous book, as Annie is the apprentice to Morena, who is one of, I guess, the headmistresses, I guess, of the coven, alongside her sister Bowen. And Annie, she gets summons that the coven needs her, and she goes and she's informed of this witch who is an orphan. There's no history of witches in her lineage, and her powers are out of control, and they need Annie to almost serve as like this mentor to this girl, to teach her how to really have control of her powers and her abilities. And we see how Annie does accept to do this, and we see Annie, who she went to boarding school, and she's not used to how normal middle-class teenagers are, because she goes to pick this girl, Maeve, up from school, and is shocked with the behavior of the other kids. Like some kids like pulls down his pants and is mooning the window. Like, yeah, and we see Maeve, we meet Maeve, I should say, who is, like, she is someone who's an outcast. She's been kind of the weird girl of the school. She's been homed. And when she and Annie try to leave the building, a group of girls ambush her, bully her, and Maeve loses control of her powers, causes darkness to spread in the building. and turns one of the girls into an orange. And Annie reports this to Marina, who's like, "Oh God, this is a more dire case than we expected," and has the two of them kind of have to isolate themselves from the rest of humanity in order to control the powers of Maeve. And where Marina sends them is this cottage in the middle of nowhere with an outhouses above them. And this is a shock to Annie, who knows the luxuries of life. I mean, she's from London, and she was expecting something a bit more fancy. So the whole thing's just like a shock to her, and she's just like, okay, this is an ideal situation for me. I'm not in a place where I really have much control, but I will get, like, I will try and control what I can. And I don't like how she's like, this isn't ideally perfect for me, but I'll make it work. Like, she's still trying to make this. She's kind of having to work with the circumstances she's in order to be this perfect person. And I just want her to allow the spell she's casting on herself that allows her to be perfect to fall, and allow herself to not be so perfect. I mean, she thinks she can't afford to not be perfect because of what happened with her family, it seems like, and letting people down. So, and she doesn't want to do that. So I'm intrigued to see what will happen in this thing. But yeah, right now she's working on building a bond with Maeve, on gaining the trust, on making Maeve feel comfortable around her, and yeah, I'm just intrigued. So yeah, I think that's all for now. So. It's the next day, and as you saw, I did go out today. Another town near me did do a book sale there, and I went, and I also went for a bit of a walk, which was quite nice, through quite chilly, and just did my grocery shopping, well, a bit of it, which was all good. And I did get some books today. I got 4, and I'm not gonna read the synopsis again, just because I remember a bit tired, I don't know why. But I got A Master of Gin by P.J. Clark. The Pariah by Anthony Wyan. The Ministry of Time by Elaine Bradley? I cannot really read the cursive. And Jacoby, I think it is, by William Witter. So yeah, very much intrigued for all of that. And before I left, I did do quite a bit of reading of Uncharmed, and I'm on page 176, and I do have to say I'm actually liking this quite a lot. We see Annie how she's trying to teach Maeve, and Annie initially, she is a bit over the top, like, tries to do it like in a kind of school setting with desks and a teacher's desk and everything, and looking like a teacher, looking like the wall. And she is just trying a bit too hard and to teach Maeve, and Maeve just gets quickly upset because Annie says the wrong thing, and we see Annie realize that she's not so perfect, and she actually doesn't allow herself to be anything but perfect, because if there's any imperfection, then everything will fall apart for her. She feels like she has to be absolutely perfect in everyone's eyes, I guess, for her to make up for what her father did and what happened with her mother. But we see Maeve is like 14, 15 years old. She's young. She's a young teenager, and hormonal and angry and has been alone all her life, and she's never really had anyone, it seems like, on her side. Like, she doesn't really know her father, and her mother just left when she was about 4, and it even said in her file that the way that house was set when they found Maeve, it was just like someone just got up and left abruptly. Like, they were expecting to eat dinner and for things to be normal, and she was playing in a closet. So I'm curious if that's somehow a part of it, if somehow she's involved with her mother's disappearance, because I'm not kidding. Because later when we meet the person who owns the cabin, hell, he notices that the animals, they are drawn to Maeve, and it seems like she has some special power there. So, and we see Maeve and Annie. I guess they're at odds and trying to find a balance there. Eventually they start to find a balance, and we see as they're growing close. And then we meet How, he is someone who goes out on assignments in the wilderness into, it seems, I think, other dimensions, and Annie has heard of him through the Coven, who it seems like Marina just complains about the fact he drugs dirt everywhere, so he thinks the fact Marina gave his cabin to Annie and Maeve is Marina trying to teach him a lesson of some sort. Seems like he doesn't really get along with Marina. He's not kind of born, he's a bit much. And yeah, like we see that Annie, she is drawn to him even if she doesn't really want to be, so I'm curious to see where that goes. So yeah, so far I'm just enjoying this and seeing Annie for the first time in her life, like, not really be perfect food. It seems like it's really because she has this routine that she's set in stone, and she knows what to do and knows where to be at what time, and that she just makes sure everything is done properly and when they're supposed to be. And yeah, so yeah, I'm just intrigued to see Annie become, or not become, but allow herself to be not so perfect and realize that her friends are not good for her, because she does know they're not the best for her, but she doesn't want to be completely alone, so yeah. But yeah, I think that's all. But yeah, that's all for now, and that's also the end of this video. So if you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up, leave a comment below telling me what you've been up to recently. If you want to, please subscribe to this channel, and if you want to follow me on any social media, then all those things are in the down bar below. I'll see you guys next time I post a video.